Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you are all fighting that war against the grey. Today we've got another wishlisting video, this one requested by one of the people on our Facebook groups, and today we are looking at Slaves to Darkness. The Slaves to Darkness are the most populous of all the chaotic races that stalk and hunt the forces of order across the mortal realms. Today I'm going to give you my opinions of what I would like to see for Slaves to Darkness in the future. I'd like to also know what you would like to see for Slaves to Darkness in the future, and leave some comments down below of what you would like to see. And if there's a faction we haven't yet covered and you'd like to see that faction get covered in this series, please leave a comment of that faction down below as well. But let's get kicking onto it, and this is 10 things I'd like to see for Slaves to Darkness. Number 1. I would like to see a multi-part plastic kit for the Chaos Warriors and Knights. Now, I know this sounds strange, we did just get brand new Chaos Warriors and Knights. Those models looked stunning. They were amazing kits and really well designed. A really nice, updated, open sort of movement given to the old pose that was very static. But it was just that, and they're not released separately yet or anything. They are snap fit from what I know as well. I would like to see like a proper multi-part Chaos Warrior kit come out that gives you the options to be able to take dual hand weapons, shield, or a halberd. I'd also like to see the same thing for Knights, for all the same reasons and points. I think just having a new updated kit with some dynamic posing would be really cool for both kits. Point number 2, I'd like to see Vanguard on foot. Can you imagine units of 5 Vanguard maybe on foot? These elite units just marching across the battlefield and destroying anything in their way. Vanguard are such a cool concept. I mean, and we won't get into the numbers of how many people have to die to actually become a Vanguard, but it's just such a cool idea of what they are. I'd like to see models on foot of them. I think they'd look really, really fantastic. Point number 3. I'd like to see the Cultists be able to take marks and be able to be battle line within a Slaves to Darkness army. So, I understand that some of them are more associated with certain marks than others, and I think maybe if you give each Cultist potentially 2, or not all the marks, but access to a couple of marks, you open some options up for taking the Cultists and making them a meaningful inclusion in the army. There are some of them that are useful throughout. Untamed Beasts and Iron Golems seem like 2 that have got universal use, but some just sort of feel left behind. I can imagine things like maybe the Splintered Fang might get a bit better if it had some extra rules, or maybe some extra damage potential that Khorne could potentially give to it. That'd be quite cool under that sort of banner. This would also allow them to be taken in other Chaos armies, and the modelling and conversion potential and the paint scheme potential for these being able to taken in marked armies would just be amazing. I'd also like to see them battle line, probably if you take a Dark Oath War Queen as your general, or a Chieftain as a Dark Oath Chieftain as your general, a Dark Oath Hero in general as your general. I think that would be just something cool and give a bit more variety to the Slaves to Darkness armies we are seeing. Point number 4. Now this is a big model, and I understand we have a big model in Slaves to Darkness in Archaon, but what if we don't want to take Archaon? What if we want to build our own Chaos Lord and there isn't really a big model to use? We've obviously got like the Lord on Manticore, but I'm thinking bigger. I'm thinking Chaos Lord on Dragon. The old Chaos Dragon, like mount him on a 2-headed, like split up head dragon, this mutated beast, and just have this amazing centerpiece for your armies that you can take without having to take Archaon. Like, Archaon's fantastic, but I do like the idea of having lesser heroes in the army so people can tell their own stories. Point number 5, and I think this is the one that everyone is going to say in the comments, and that's, can I have new Marauders, please? The old kit is so dated. It is probably the most maligned, if not one of the 2 most maligned, along with the zombie kits in existence from Games Workshop. People just do not like this kit anymore. It was great back in the day, and there's no doubt, but it just looks so dated now that it looks almost out of place, even amongst other similarly old kits like the Chaos Warriors stuff like that. It just looks out of place and odd, especially when you compare it to the nice new Cultist models we've received. I think an updated sculpt for the Chaos Marauders, much more akin to the Warcry warband that we received, would be a very welcome thing indeed. Point number 6. I'd like to see the army be able to be played without having to go into the sub-factions. At the moment, Slaves to Darkness are sort of tied into their sub-factions pretty heavily. I'd like to see this be a lot more open, a lot more free to build your own warband as you see fit. Sometimes the restrictions work really well like they are done in this, but I think Slaves should have more freedom. The Chaos makes up the majority of the mortal realms. Order is but a small fraction, and so it makes things like Cities of Sigmar to be restricted in that way. But Slaves to Darkness, there should be so many different variations of them that I don't feel the restriction is as warranted narratively as other armies might be. I'd like to see a lot more freedom in being able to build your list and like maybe some generic command traits, ability spells, etc. Point number 7. I'd like to see a Daemon Smith model. A Daemon Smith would be a great addition, like being able to control like demonic machines or make forge armor and give people pluses to armor and all that sort of stuff, like a priest for the Slaves to Darkness. Along with this, I'd also like to see the Daemon Priest, like I said, be able to make the big mechanical monsters better. And of course, talking about the Soul Grinder. Soul Grinders are just such an amazing model. They are absolutely fearsome to look upon. They're just not that great at the moment. They can spike really high and they can do some quite decent damage if they spike, but they are pretty whiffy at the best of times. I'd like to see a Daemon Smith come in and like you could use this dude in a combination with Soul Grinders to make some really efficient monsters out of the Soul Grinders. Point number 8. So in the narrative, Archaon's now lost the Death Realm Gate as well. Beast Realm Gate has gone missing. It's probably in the mouth of some giant beast, is what the rumours are. And Order has also taken Fire and Life. So Archaon's now lost half of the gates he once held in the All Points. So I'd like to see what his plan is next. Where does Archaon go from here? What is his next move? We've seen in Wrath of the Chosen, he almost freed Slaanesh, but couldn't quite because goddamn Katakros, Nagash and Alinda and all that came to ruin his fun. Instead, he had to go back and kick their butts, and now we're going to see what his next plan is. It's great to see him back in the setting again. He's a fantastic and very important character to the setting. I mean, we wouldn't have Age of Sigmar without Archaon. So, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Point number 9, another narrative point I'd like to see explored is we know the relationship between Be'lakor and Archaon is disharmonious at best. Be'lakor wants nothing more than to see Archaon fall and him become the Ever-Chosen for all eternity like he was destined to be. But Archaon knows that Be'lakor is untrustworthy. I think but they both know that each other is a valuable ally to achieving their own goals. It's an interesting one. They're two characters wanting the same thing, and they're effectively rivals in a point. Like both trying this, and like Archaon is the one on top, and Be'lakor is the one underneath him, always striving to try and one up. Be interesting to see how they can develop this relationship between the two characters, I think. And it's definitely something I look forward to reading more about, hopefully, in the future. My last point, and point number 10, is I'd like to see a new Chaos War Shrine. The old one, it's nice and it's great and all that, but I think it's just been left behind. The War Shrine should be this massive piece of Chaos, just worship, and I don't think the current one quite gives off the grandeur that the War Shrine should. Potentially, maybe, even the War Shrine should become the Chaos's generic terrain piece, potentially. But I think there's a few different ways we can go about this. If not, you want to make it a nice, big, ornate War Shrine and make it bigger than what it currently is. Or, like I said, you potentially want to turn it into the Chaos's terrain piece. Anyway, That's 10 things I'd like to see about Slaves to Darkness. I'd like to know in the comments below what you would like to see from this faction in the future. Leave them comments down below. Don't forget to video a like and a subscribe. And also, if there's a faction we haven't touched on yet that you'd like to see in the future, please leave that in the comments down below as well. But that's all from me for today. Stay safe, stay well everyone, and keep fighting that war against the Grey. I'll see you all later.